And when everybody, I don't even think real Jets fans, because they are the smartest in the league, I don't think they ever look around and go, how could this happen? How did we get here? The answer was just rolled out in your face, right? Like when this is the absolute top of the organization, do you really need it explained to you how we got here?
Yeah. It just feels very much like off the cuff. And it's like, listen, you're in charge of the whole thing. Every word you say is going to be scrutinized. And there's just enough memes and toxicity going around right now. So do we have to throw a little more into the pot, even though he didn't say anything that inflammatory? But it doesn't help, is what
No.
I'd say. It doesn't help. It doesn't make anything easier for anybody. And I don't know, especially at this time of the year at 0-7, going towards the trade deadline. And my concern is that this new regime, and we'll spend a lot of time in the rest of the pod of this in a more room answering some questions, which I think hasn't done everything wrong. I think there's been some silver linings and some positives here or there, but I feel like it's been very chaotic and ping-ponging from move to move and decision to decision. I think that's going to be the case at quarterback now, where we'll be Tyrod for a little bit, but if he gets hurt, maybe we go back to Fields, or maybe we try Brady Cook. I feel like we're going to see all three quarterbacks before the year ends in some shape or form. And in terms of the trade deadline, I have to think, if you're Glenn or Muji, you're cognizant of how bad this is going. And in that circumstance, it makes it look better for you from a job security standpoint if you go pure fire sale and you say this whole thing's rotten. These are not our guys. This is what we did in Detroit. We traded Hawkinson. Everyone thought he was a building block. Wrong. He wasn't our building block. So Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams, Breece Hall, even the guys you don't think are obvious are all on the block. We're going to trade as much as we can. We're going to load up on as much traffic capital as possible. And we're going to say, look, we're going to say this to ownership. We're going to say this to reporters. We're going to say this to ourselves, that this is year zero. We gutted everything. Now we're starting to build. We have 13 draft picks because we traded all these players. Now you can really start evaluating our roster. That's Briggs, that's Phillips, that's Brownlee, that's Membu, that's Mason Taylor, and that's all the guys we draft next year. And from a pure job security standpoint, it's not an irrational line of thinking. Now, is that the best thing to do for the Jets in the medium and long term? When I see rumors that you're getting a second for Quinnen Williams or a third or a fourth for Jermaine Johnson,
I mean, come on.
I'm not so sure. And we articulated this last week. Like I look at a guy like Jermaine Johnson, and I'm under no delusions. Like Jermaine Johnson is not Max Crosby. I think Jermaine Johnson, I've said this for a while, can be Calvin Pace. And people are like, oh, that's all you think he is? Like, that's a compliment. It's really good to be Calvin Pace. It's a good starter, 3-down player in the NFL for a long time, and was a key part of some great Jet defenses. So if you have a guy like that, and he's an emotional leader on the defense and plays football the right way, are you getting better by trading a fourth rounder for him? Quinnen Williams, if you can't get a first, are you shipping him off? I don't know. The Breece Hall thing, the Michael Carter, the Quincy Williams, those are day 3. Get some of the collateral back you gave up for guys like Tyler Barron and maybe wasted in other places. Fine. I'm fascinated to see what happens the next 2 weeks because, a lot of people are like, well, what do you think of these Jermaine rumors, which seem to be picking up steam? And anything could happen. Nothing would really surprise me. They could trade Jermaine for a fifth, and I wouldn't be shocked. I would think it'd be stupid. I wouldn't do it.
That would tell me the GM officially has no fucking idea what he's doing.
So, for me, if you get a great package for Jermaine, all right, you get, I don't know, a third to fourth.
Let's call it a two and a four.
A 2 and a 4. Okay. All right.
That's a big package for Jermaine.
Right. 2 and a 4. Guy's got 9 career sacks. He's been a little banged up. Maybe you're not going to pay him. I don't like arguing the other side of it, but all right, you could convince me on it, right? If you're just trading him for a fourth or some random day 3 pick, I just think it sends the worst possible message. And I know it's a thin line between some of these picks, but optics do matter. And I don't know. There was a lot of smoke very specifically around him. That could mean nothing. It could just mean teams want him more than they want Quincy Williams or Will McDonald or somebody else. I don't know, man. What do you think happens at this deadline? Because in a weird way, I'm more worried now about them selling too low on Jermaine and keeping a guy like Breece for the wrong reason, in that well, who's going to carry the ball the next 10 games? Because we have no other running backs and we don't have a quarterback really. So we got to run the ball like crazy. And Brees, you're just going to mope it out here the next 10 games. And then whatever you get in free agency, you get in free agency. I worry a little bit about the smoke. So you alluded to it. Like, what are you comfortable doing at the deadline, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because, or maybe like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Me, this team being 0-7, the state of the roster, I mean, I would be borderline fire sale at this point because I'll tell you, obviously you're not trading Membu or Fashanu, like nobody from the rookie class, of course, though. That would be because it's your first draft. You're not going to do that. But not Olu, not Garrett. Those are, and I know people are like, it feels like Olu hasn't played as well as we hoped he would this year, but he's a developing franchise tackle.
Let him start 25 games before we talk about that, please.
And pass protect for a quarterback that has an ounce of pocket presence.
Yes.
So you notice how he usually looks pretty fine too, by the way, when Tyrod has to play.
Amazing.
Just saying. Weird. But so, and then Garrett, by the way, if one more just national media person is like,
can we fucking
Garrett,
stop,
this isn't
please?
fair to Garrett Wilson. It's really embarrassing to read some of this as if the Jets should just quit, right? Just quit. Just give everyone away and just make everybody happy and give away all your players for conditional 7th round picks. I don't even understand. Like, the lack of intelligence in these conversations is jarring. I'll leave it at that. But and honestly, the thing that people probably won't agree with me on is I wouldn't trade Will McDonald because I think you're selling low on Will McDonald. And I think Will McDonald is a very talented pass rusher. I think very talented pass rushers, and I mean that in its exact form, pass rusher, not premium edge defender, that he's a beast against the run and he's a beast as a pass rusher. He is a talented pass rusher right now. I think he's gotten a little better against the run, but he's a pass rusher. When you're 0-7 and you're literally never, ever playing with a lead, how can you evaluate that guy?
Yeah.
How? So you're going to lose that return on investment if you if they trade Will McDonald for a 3rd round pick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the one where I'm sitting there and being like, wow, like you're just gutting the roster to gut the roster at that point. So, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me on that one, but I'll plant my flag that when the Jets actually can ever play with any format of a lead, that Will McDonald will have a very important purpose. I mean, did you watch the Niners the other night against the Falcons when they had a lead and Bryce Huff is just kicking the shit out of Atlanta because he's in the right scheme and they're playing with a lead? I love how everybody was like, oh, Bryce Huff actually stunk after he went to the Eagles. No, he's in the right scheme now, and when he's a good pass rusher.
I can remember a couple people saying they should just pay Bryce Huff and pay him early.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Here we are.
They got Hassan Reddick, and that's why they don't have a 3rd round pick this year.
Yep.
So, I mean, seriously, the chain link effect of poor GMing with this team is I know I led the show with the top of the chain and how that problem trickles down, but also, yes, you make smarter football decisions because that'll go a long way for your organization. But anyways, then after that, to me, it's like, I think you got to – the problem with Brees is he's going to be much better wherever else he goes.
Yep.
Just accept it now. He's a really good receiving back. He's got good hands. He's good in space. Wherever he goes, you'll probably look bad because of it. But I don't know, and not Saquon Barkley level bad. That's not what I'm alluding to. But you will lose on that trade on a PR scale.
Yep.
But if you've made the decision that you aren't going to extend him, and who knows if Brees even wants to be here. I have no idea why he'd want to be here. So then maybe you franchise him, but are you willing to pay that number for him?
Yeah.
You're going to lose him for nothing because once again, I say it every show, he's not going to factor into the comp pick formula at the rate that you'd need him to. Quinnen, I've actually kind of turned back on, and Quinnen's playing really well. He's a great player. I will be a Quinnen Williams fan for the rest of my life, just like I'm a Leonard Williams fan. I love watching him right now on the Seahawks. Like, I just feel like by the time this rebuild is turned around the right way, you'll have a 29 going on 30 or 30 going on 31 Quinnen Williams that, like, maybe you got to get some picks back right now for a rookie quarterback. And what I'm saying is the Jets are going to be bad enough to pick a rookie quarterback, but they're going to need to kind of stock some day 2 capital right now to get receivers around this quarterback, right? Like, you're not going into the year with Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, name your choice, and he's throwing to, when Garrett Wilson sprains his ankle, which happens to all receivers, Josh Reynolds and Arian Smith. Like, we're not doing this again. We're not doing this again. And the fact that the GM thought that plan was okay for Justin Fields, who was a total reclamation project, probably tells you the GM doesn't really know what he's doing when it comes to putting the pieces around the quarterback. He'll probably get a second shot unless this thing really falls on its face. But if you have reservations about lacking confidence in the GM to build it right around a quarterback, you are fair until you're proven wrong in that right now. Don't let anybody tell you different. So, yeah, I think that's where the combo becomes that Quincy's on an expiring. So if all you get for Quincy is a 5th, you have to take it. Sorry, he's not going to be back. You paid Sherwood. He's not a part of your plan. Unfortunately, that combo extends to Michael Carter because you're going to cut him after the year, even if you don't. So if you get like a 7th for Michael Carter, that's going to look really shitty, but that's probably what you're looking at. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to get these day 2 picks to stockpile the offense, that's probably going to cost you Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall. I'm not confident he brings a day 2 pick, but we'll see. So yeah, Joe, like it's kind of time for them to accept reality, unfortunately, and that's going to hurt some feelings, but it's what the cost of doing business is right now because of how poorly they handled this thing.
0-7 is 0-7, and you have to be real about where you're headed. You know, I think the range of outcomes is 0-17 to 2-15, and knowing that you're taking a quarterback in the top 3 and you need help around him. You need receivers. You need to do what you can to build the other parts of the defense to make his life easier on that side of the football. So it's a different kind of situation. It's not all Muji and Glenn's fault, right? This goes back to the chain reaction of not paying Bryce Huff, trading JFM, a bad Reddick trade, like late stage stupidity from Joe Douglas that they're still paying for, mixed with some other mistakes that the new regime made where you don't want to go into this draft with like 6 total picks. And right now, they don't have a 3rd rounder. You have to be loaded up in that 2, 3, 4 range to have flexibility, to maybe go back into the back half of the 1st round and get a playmaker you're excited about to put with Garrett Wilson. That's the reality of this situation now. I could be wrong. You could be wrong. I don't see this team over their last 10 games going like 4-6 or 5-5 and making this kind of spirited run behind Tyrod and Brady Cook where you're like, wow, like they really turned a corner and now they're picking 8th or 9th. Like, even if they're scrappy and punchy, they're playing too many contenders where it's going to be a 3-14, 2-15, 1-16 type scenario. That's going to lead you to a rookie quarterback. That's going to be a whole other level of discourse. And look, I hope they find a way to not trade every single piece that is meaningful on this defense, but truly nothing would surprise me because you're in a full teardown and you have a GM and a head coach who are shockingly on a very hot seat after 7 games, and they feel it. They're not stupid. Like, they're listening to the quotes. They see the discourse. Aaron Glenn's been in the league for a long time. Muji's been in the league for a long time, despite being a young guy. They're not naive to what's going on around them. And my mind hasn't changed since Sunday. I still think they're going to be back. So,
as we sit here today,
I expect them to be back. I truly hope, and we'll spend more time doing this. It's not all a black cloud. There are a couple things you could point to and say, all right, they're learning on the job and maybe they learned this. And with Glenn, you benched Tony Adams. It was just 2 weeks too late. You benched Fields. It was just 2 weeks too late. You went for it on 4th down, but maybe it was the wrong situation for it. With Muji, you kind of botched your day 3, but now you did some of these trades to piece some of it together. So maybe it isn't all going to be a disaster, but in the term of in the vacuum of this season's already a disaster, and you have to think ahead and about where you can build this thing and who you're going to build around. So look, that's why nothing's going to surprise me over the next couple of weeks. They have a tough matchup this weekend, funnily enough, against Joe Flacco, because if Sauce isn't right, like, it's asking a lot out of Zaire Thomas and this secondary to deal with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins after what they just did to Jalen Ramsey and that Steelers secondary. Because if Flacco could do one thing, he could just sling the ball around to those guys.
Sure.
And the Jets pass rush does not get home right now. And I know
Jets don't tackle well.
Yeah, and I know this defenses look good, but this is not a good matchup for them. And the Jets offense doesn't score points. I expected them to score Tyrod and start Tyrod, and the Bengals have a bad defense, but I mean, there's a reason they're 6-point underdogs. And with good reason. That even feels like a touch generous. So I don't know, man. I hope they show up and I hope they compete. I certainly will be picking them to lose because you come back after that bye week and there's no gimmies for a team when you're 0-8. And I got this question in a couple places, and then I'll toss it to you. I think someone tweeted me like, am I wrong for still rooting for Aaron Glenn and for the Jets to win this Sunday?
No.
And I was like, absolutely not. It's his 8th game as a head coach. I've learned by now how I root impacts nothing, right? If I root for them to win all the time and they never win. I'm not watching Sunday being like, I hope Aaron Glenn gets embarrassed and I hope the Jets lose. I want to see them win a game. I do not want to see the Jets go 0-17. I don't want to see Aaron Glenn go 0-17. And maybe I'm crazy for thinking that. At the end of the day, they're going to be bad enough to have a chance to pick a good quarterback. I believe that in this year's class. So week to week, it's going to be a bit of an adventure now. I think Woody saw to that this week. The trade deadline, we'll see to that the next few weeks. I do want to see for the young guys on this team a degree of pride and professionalism because Membu's important going forward. Olu's important going forward. Mason Taylor is important going forward. Some of these guys I just mentioned on the defense who are going to be here next year are important going forward. So, we're going to see, man. It's not easy playing at 0-7 when you feel like your entire team carries themselves like they're snake bitten and they just don't know how to win a football game. But, where do you see it going from here? You got one game before the bye week. How do you go week to week right now if you're on this coaching staff, in this front office, in this locker room? What are you expecting to see or hoping to see on Sunday?
Well, Sunday is a little unique because it's still pre-trade deadline. And so everybody's still here. The Jets are banged up in their worst way right now. Cincinnati's defense is awful. So maybe there's a world where even without Garrett Wilson, that Tyrod, hits Mason Taylor on a couple throws, get Breece Hall going a little bit. I mean, the line is still playing really, really hard. But I'm with you. It feels like a game that the Bengals will be able to outscore the Jets because you hit Chase on some of those quick throws and he'll just kill you. T. Higgins can go up and, you'd love Sauce in this game because Sauce matches up really well against a T. Higgins kind of player.
Yeah.
He did credit to Sauce this year. He's done well against DK. He did well against Sutton. I say it all the time. Pickens caught the touchdown on him that really could have been an OPI, but outside of that, he played well against Pickens.
He's still a very good football player.
He's a very good football player that he has a unique skill set to match up with the league's large X wide receivers, and not a lot of corners are very good at that. There's a reason those guys go off every week. So that's one where you'd really miss him because you could play it where if Sauce followed Higgins around, you can allocate the extra help to Chase, which would be needed because Chase is not only so good as a receiver before the catch, but he's so dangerous with the ball in his hands after the catch that you'd like that bracket to at least have somebody to rally to the ball to tackle him. So they're in trouble there. They really are. The Bengals don't run the ball well, and the Jets' run defense has really come on strong. So I think it'll be a very one-dimensional game. I think the Bengals will be able to throw the ball around the yard. I think Tyrod will get the Jets up the field a couple times because the Bengals defense just isn't much to write home about, but the red zone play calling hasn't been very good where they've shown you that they could finish drives, and we'll see if they can kind of buck that trend with a different quarterback. But, you brought up an interesting point of people asking you, everybody's in different perspectives too, right? I'm still in the mold that I don't have kids. All I really care about most of the time is team building. So the way I look at the team might be different than the way, I mean, even you at this stage, you have boys that are going to be Jet fans. They wear Jet jerseys, right?
Yeah.
I think it's something really special a lot of people have with their families, that the feeling of winning a game is worth it rather than just logging on Tankathon in the dark every single hour. Right?
Yeah.
It's so I get it. And Aaron Glenn has a lot of, like, Jet fans have a lot of special memories with him. I go back to, it's a shame, and I really mean it's a shame, that Aaron Glenn, the way he carried himself for the first, couple months, a couple weeks here, or really a couple months though, I think it just rubbed a lot of the fan base the wrong way. And it's really sad that way, because I think that part of it is, I think he felt like he had to do that because of, it's almost like the inverse of Salah.
Yeah.
And then the other part is, I think he realized real quickly, shit gets real very fast, and he got on the defensive. And I think, unfortunately, I think a lot of fans don't have sympathy for him because of that. And like, however you feel about that, there's a lot of fans that probably still do have sympathy for Aaron Glenn because they loved Aaron Glenn as a player, and you want this to work. You and I say it every week. We are not rooting for a one and done. If the Jets continue on the pathway they're on, then you have to be a one and done, because this is so inept. Well, we didn't want it to look like this, and going forward, we don't want it to look like this. So that's the tricky thing. I think Jet fans are in a very difficult place right now, not just because of the team's 0-7, but I think it's because, I was having a funny combo this morning with one of my coworkers, James Kaminsky, Badlands subscriber, works on Football Night in America with me, with our company at NBC. Just a great all-around dude. Like, not only a great talent that we work with in terms of what he does behind the scenes for our shows, but he's a great dude to talk Jets with. And he was telling me, he's like, I have two really young kids now, and the one son that he's been able to take to Mets and Rangers games, like the environment, how much he loves it. And we were just talking like how dark of a place the Jets are in, that I have multiple friends like this that have kids. And I've even sat there and wondered, and I work game days, but it doesn't mean I'll work game days forever. Is that something that, people are excited to do anymore, is to pass on this fandom? The video with the kids saying, like, I was raised on this, but I hate this team.